Welcome to the next video in our deep dive on beliefs. So today in the class, you are going to understand the key rigid beliefs that affect people's lives. I'm going to talk to you about the most common beliefs that my clients have to deal with and look at how they can create a lot of trouble and stress in your life. We're going to unpack the role of rigid thinking, and when you learn these rigid beliefs, it's going to help you access a new level of awareness and freedom in your life. Hold tight, let's get going. So when I'm chatting to my clients, we are always looking at rigid beliefs that are popping up. Now, Albert Ellis, one of the original creators of this kind of therapy, looked at certain key rigid beliefs. And these are rigid beliefs that a lot of human beings have. We don't have all of them, but we've all got some of them. And these rigid beliefs really do affect our experience to be happy, to live fulfilling lives, to be self-expressed, and to enjoy life. So today we're going to look at some of these rigid beliefs, and you might not have all of them, but you might just notice you have some of them. I should never let anyone down. Now, I don't know if you've had that one before, but in society, a lot of people have this fear, I should never let anyone down. I should never disappoint anyone. Now, imagine what life is going to be like if you have that belief, I should never let anyone down. How are you going to feel in situations when you've got to maybe say no to something, or you can't do something, maybe you can't make an engagement? How are you going to be feeling at work if you can't get all your work done and you have that demand that I must never let anyone down? Now you can see that that is very rigid, right? I must never let anyone down. There's no space for flexibility. There's no space for freedom there. It's very rigid. No ifs, no buts. And the hidden subtext is, I must never let anyone down in any situations or at all times. So have a think to see if you've got that, and if you do have that belief, notice how you feel when you're in a situation where you think you might have to let someone down or you might have to disappoint someone. Can you see how you might be feeling stressed or uncomfortable in that situation? I must get everything done on time. That is a popular one for some of you perfectionists out there. I must get everything done on time. Now look, that is a healthy belief to have most of the time, right? But there are going to be occasions when we have too much work or we're too stressed, there's too much going on and we can't get it all done on time. But if you're telling yourself, I must get everything done on time, can you see again how that is very rigid? That's quite a rigid and dogmatic, inflexible belief. And when you've got a big pile of work and you're telling yourself that you have to get it all done, then you're going to feel stressed, you're going to feel anxious. I need people to like me. So that is a big one. We all want people to like us, right? We all want people to laugh at our jokes and to get on with us, and we want to be liked. That's normal human behavior. But when we say, I need people to like me, then that can become quite stressful. How are you going to feel when you have that belief saying, I need people to like you, and then maybe they don't like you, or maybe they have a problem with you, or maybe they make a complaint or a criticism. Maybe they have an issue with you. And if you have that belief that I need people to like me, or people must like me, then you can see how that can cause a problem. Can you see the stress attached to that belief if you want people to like you all the time? Can you see how you're just always going to be on edge, always sensing just to see whether people like you or not? It's a stressful belief. Here's a big one. People must not criticize me. And a lot of people have that demand. People must not criticize me. Nobody likes to be criticized. But what's the truth? Criticism happens. Feedback happens. That's just the nature of reality. Imagine if you were telling yourself that people must not criticize me under any situations. Well, you're just going to be setting yourself up to feel anxious, to feel stressed. And can you see that that belief is not consistent with reality? People must not criticize me. People do criticize us. People do give us feedback. So that belief is not flexible. It's rigid and it's not consistent with how things actually are. So can you see that these rigid beliefs are a map? People must not criticize me. That's a map. That's our view. That's our perception. And then we have reality. And reality says, well, people do criticize us sometimes. That's true. Our map is people must be nice to me. And what's the reality? Well, Sometimes people aren't nice to us. Not everyone likes us. So you see, we have our map and then we have our reality. And a lot of the time the map is not similar to reality. The process of CBT is helping us to finesse, to fine tune our map so that we can make it closer to how things actually are. I must avoid looking strange or weird. I'm sure you've been on the train or the tube and you look around and everyone's doing their best to not look strange or weird. Nobody wants to speak out. Nobody wants to express themselves. People are afraid of talking to each other. People are afraid of making too much noise or doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing. People are terrified of looking strange or weird. Well, not all people, but it's a common belief in society. I must not look strange. I must not look weird. I must not look out of place. Can you see how rigid that is? There's no freedom there to be yourself, to be self-expressed. We limit ourselves so much when we have this rigid belief about wanting to look good and avoiding looking weird or strange. And you can imagine how you feel when you are in a situation and you have to behave that way. You're terrified of avoiding looking strange or weird. It's a difficult belief. And again, just in the class today, it's good to begin noticing whether you have that or not. I must avoid conflict at all costs. It's a common one. A lot of people are afraid of conflict. They're afraid of causing trouble. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing, of having other people be upset. I must avoid conflict at all times. Do you have that one? Now you can see that if you have that belief, then it's very difficult for you to speak up. It's difficult for you to really say how you feel if you're afraid of causing conflict. You cannot be self-expressed. And if you're afraid of causing conflict and you're in a situation where conflict is necessary, how are you going to be feeling? You're going to be feeling trapped, stuck, uncomfy, blocked, whatever it might be. It's not an easy belief and it's not consistent with reality. In life, the truth is sometimes conflict is going to happen. Sometimes we're going to feel like that's important, and sometimes conflict is more important than having harmony. And when you have that belief, I must avoid conflict at all times, you can see how that is going to have you feel. I must never make a mistake. Boom. We've all been there. Maybe we were at school, maybe we were at home, maybe as children we had that fear that we might be making a mistake, that we might be doing the wrong thing. We've had that, ingrained into us to avoid making mistakes under any situation. It's not okay to make mistakes in the classroom. It's not okay to make mistakes at home. And we carry that belief through life. I must not make any mistakes. And you know what? It's okay to make mistakes. And you know what? It feels good just to say it to me now. I must not make any mistakes. It's stressful. And when we're saying that to ourselves, we're just not free to live. We're not free to be. We're not free to just let loose, to get wild. So see if you've been telling yourself that, and imagine if you're in a work situation or you're at school and you're telling yourself, I must not make any mistakes. There's just no space to really grow, to really learn. You're not free to mess up. I should always be strong. That's one for you guys out there. A lot of us guys, we've been told we've got to be strong, we've got to be tough, we've got to be the tough one. It's not really true. The idea that I must be strong all the time. What effect's that going to have on you if you have that belief? What's going to happen when you want to cry, or you're struggling, or you're having a tough time and you're telling yourself, I must be strong under any situation, under any circumstances? It's a tough one. And if you have that rigid belief, imagine how you're going to be feeling when you're running that rigid belief over different situations. I should always put the needs of others in front of my own. Now, a lot of people have that. In our culture, we've been brought up to believe that we must put other people's needs first. And if you put your own needs first, well, that's a bad thing. That's selfish. And sure, in an ideal world, it is nice. It is preferable to put people's needs first. But it doesn't mean that we must or we have to put other people's needs first all the time. Because sometimes when the chips are down, you need to put your needs first. Sometimes when you're under pressure, you've got to look after yourself. They call it self-care. We need to sometimes put our needs first. Not all the time, but some of the time. Now, if you're telling yourself that you have to put everyone's needs first before you, how are you going to be feeling? Imagine you're just putting everyone's needs first, all the time, never putting your needs on the table, ever. What's going to happen over time? Imagine what happens in yourself. It's a stressful belief. Imagine how you're going to feel when you have that belief. And is it even true that you have to put people's needs all the time? Nope, but it sometimes feels that way. I should never trust others. Some of us have that one. We have that rigid belief that we mustn't trust others, we shouldn't trust others, we can't trust others. It's not safe. Imagine if you're telling yourself that belief. It is a stressful belief. It makes it very difficult to have proper relationships if you're telling yourself that all the time. And it's not totally true. I must never feel unsure or uncertain. In life, we want to feel certain all the time, don't we? We want to feel sure. If we don't feel that way, sometimes we can feel anxious, stressed, worried, uncomfortable. But it's sometimes not always possible to be sure or certain. If we're telling ourselves, I have to be that way before doing something, you might never do anything. You might never get anywhere. Can you see how having that rigid belief, imagine you have that rigid belief and then you're in a situation where you feel unsure or uncertain. How are you going to feel? You're going to feel stressed, worried, anxious, whatever you want to call it. I should never hurt anyone else. Well, I mean, I've got that one, and in an ideal world, you never want to hurt anyone. None of us do. But sometimes people get hurt. That's the truth. I have this idea that I must never ever hurt anyone, and then we have reality, which is that people get hurt regardless of you. So that belief is not consistent with reality all the time. We have the map, how we think it should be, and then we've got reality, how it really is. I must avoid people thinking negatively of me. Whew. Wow, that's a big one, right? I must avoid people thinking negatively of me. Here's the truth. People think negatively of you regardless of what you say about it. You could be perfect, right? People could still feel negatively or think negatively about you. There's nothing you can avoid, it happens. You can be perfect, you can get it all right, you can get straight A's, you can be the perfect friend, the perfect partner, and people will still think negatively of you. You cannot avoid it. Can you see how that belief is just not helpful? Can you see how it's stressful? Can you see how you can get caught up in what people are thinking, and you're never going to be able to avoid people thinking negatively of you? It's like telling yourself, I must avoid seeing dogs. Well, look, there's dogs everywhere. You can't avoid seeing them unless you lock yourself up at home. It'd be nice to avoid people thinking negatively about you, but you know, you got to live, right? You got to eat, you got to get out and socialize and chat to people. People are going to think negatively of you. It's just how it is. The sky is blue, clouds are up in the sky, and people think negatively. It's just how it is. Whatever I do should be perfect. That's a big one. A lot of people out there want to do things that are perfect. They want to get it right. They want to be on top of things. They want to be nailing it. Everything they do, they want it to be exact and perfect. Now, is that a stressful belief or is that a relaxing belief? I must get things perfect. I must do them perfectly. It's stressful. And there's no space for messing up or getting things wrong or doing things the wrong way. So, as you can see, there are so many interesting beliefs, and these are just a few of them, right? There's many more rigid beliefs, and I hope today you've just got a sense of how they work. And what I'd like you to do is begin looking at your own life, begin looking at your own situations, and begin finding what are your rigid beliefs? Where are they? How are they affecting what's going on for you right now? So today's one of my favorite classes. We're going to be digging into these beliefs as we go. And if you've got any beliefs coming up for yourself, just share them in the chat box beneath the video, and I'll look at them. If you've got any questions, let me know, and I'll catch up with you soon.